And welcome back. Joining us in studio this morning for our first conversation is the Minister of Tourism and Diaspora Relations, none other than Anthony Mahler. Good morning, Minister Mahler.
Good morning.
Morning, guys. Morning, Belize. Thanks for having me.
I think it's your first time on the show with us, correct?
No. Since I became minister?
Yeah.
No, it's like the third or fourth.
Okay. I must have missed you then.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Good, great.
So there's a lot that we want to get into this morning.
I'm sure you do.
Tourism is the lifeblood of the country. You have stakeholders far and near who are invested in tourism. And there's a lot going on in the industry. The first thing that I would want for us to get into is perhaps an update as to the recent discussions that may have been held with yourself and the Minister of State, Chris Koyi, and of course the other stakeholders regarding the Port Magical situation and of course the controversial definitive agreement. Perhaps we can start there.
Sure. Well, I must say firstly though, that yes, tourism is the lifeblood, but we truly believe in the diversification of our economy. I believe that allows us to be resilient to any exogenous shocks, anything, hurricanes, anything here in Belize as well. And so my colleague, Honorable Abemai, is doing a great job in agriculture. Other members of cabinet in their roles as minister are also doing great jobs in their ministries. So I just wanted to put that out there. But tourism has many intersectoral linkages.
Yeah.
And so you're right, it is crucial to the movement of our economy and moving forward. In terms of your specific question, as you know, this has been in turmoil for many years. Just to me, it is unnecessary. I think that if you look at the makeup of the cruise sector, you have a few major players internationally, and they work with the region. And so we have a growth path, and the cruise lines are saying that the bigger ships, in no way or form, they would want to tender.
Yeah.
And so even though I support the Stake Bank project, I think in the interim, that will have some issues down the road if they don't get the causeway. Now, which of the other two will be built? It looks like Port of Magical, the people behind that development have mustered up the financing to start the project and to get it going. And so if we don't get a docking facility soon, we'll definitely see the numbers going down. We have ships that are able to call on, that should be calling on Belize, but can't because they can't dock, and the cruise lines, they say somewhere around 9,000–10,000 passengers plus 2,500–3,000 crew. If you have two of those ships dock in harbor one day, you understand.
Yeah.
You could imagine the economic
right?
stimulus as well in terms of money to be made.
Agreed. And so it is urgent that we get at least a docking facility so that we can accommodate those bigger classes.
Well, let's go back a bit. As I asked earlier, yourself and Chris Koyi have been tasked with negotiating or working with, if I could use that description, with Portico, Royal Caribbean, and all of those parties that are involved with the definitive agreement. Have you guys begun that discussion, or where are we with that?
Well, inside of Belize, we have, and we've started to dissect the definitive agreement, just to say this can't work, this can work. Yeah. And our goal is to, I believe, the recommendation on the table right now is for us to tear up the original definitive agreement and have a new agreement.
Are the parties amenable to that? I mean, it's like if you and I have a contract, regardless of how that contract came into being prior to someone else looking at it and say, well, hey, this doesn't seem to be legit. Do we simply say, okay, well, let's discard this? If the terms of that contract may be beneficial to either of us?
The information that I'm getting right now is that they are going to be willing to renegotiate and start from scratch.
How do you look at this as the Minister of Tourism, considering the fact that this is sort of like a golden egg? The industry is sort of like a golden egg, but then this ongoing situation sort of casts a black eye on everything. How do you look at it?
Well, firstly, just take into consideration, I have no dealings other than being a member in cabinet for the approval or denial of any port facility.
Yeah.
Our responsibility in the Ministry of Tourism and Diaspora Relations is to bring ships to Belize in a sustainable way. And so, for me, when I look at it as Minister of Tourism, not Minister of Cruise or Minister of any sector. And if you look at the revenue breakdown for tourism, you will see that overnight tourism generates about 85% of the revenues, while cruise about 15%. And so the disparity between those two is large. And so my main focus is on overnight. That is the lifeblood of the industry. And we have to be careful that we don't diminish the visitor experience from the overnight people who come here, who are largely, a large pool of them is from
cruise.
From high economic bracket, highly educated, and so they want an immersive experience, they want a life-fulfilling experience. And so when you have all this noise, all it does is creates a turmoil around the brand Belize, that it's always chaos there, it's not good for doing business. And we've signaled to the world that we're open for business. It's not going to be business as usual, that the rule of law is going to prevail, that contracts are going to be respected. And those are the things that we're trying to project to the world to say, here, come and invest in Belize, not only in tourism, but other aspects that we believe that could provide a good path for the investors.
How do you see the state of affairs in tourism at present? We have numbers that are going up, we have arrivals and so on and so forth. Where are we perhaps in 2023 as compared to previous years?
I just took a look at the numbers, and we did a presentation for both major associations in terms of the numbers. For the first 4 months, we are about 91, 92% of where we were in 2019 for overnight, and we're about 65%. But we believe that by the end of the year, for cruise, we'll catch up to about 85, 90%. Again, some of the larger ships are already bypassing Belize, and so we can see a tapering off or a dip in the numbers there.
I want to touch on other innovative ways that you have tried to shape the tourism industry, and that has to do with music. I know that music is something that you also, it's dear to you as well. But last year you created the Music and Food Festival here in Belize, and we saw how successful that was. Let's talk about why you saw it fit to also put music as a part of the marketing product Belize has to offer.
To me, our culture and our diversity, those things are very important to the tourism product. If you look at all the surveys that we do, the experiencing culture, food, music, those things play a crucial role in why people come to Belize. And so we decided, after looking around the Caribbean and all over the world, we decided that during the slower part of the season, we wanted to start to build this. But if you ask the people from St. Lucia, it took them around 10 to 15 years to really build their music festival and their jazz festival into an international. Same with other parts of the world. Why do you think Carnival is the biggest thing in February for Trinidad and other countries in the Caribbean, because these things draw people. People want to have a good experience. They want to enjoy life, and so that's what, like the song, when music hits, you feel no pain, right?
Yeah.
How do you look at the upcoming event versus what was executed last year? And I know that because it may have been the first of its kind for Belize, there was public scrutiny in respect of how you went about doing that program, so to speak.
Yeah.
How do you look at it this time around?
Well, I mean, we have 1 year of experience behind us. We have a little ways to go in terms of where we want to reach in the overall planning. So as we continue to build it, there are other aspects we want to include. We want to include some jazz. We want to include some gospel as we move along. So it was too short to implement this time.
Yeah.
Just from looking at that gospel concert in BTL Park and the crowd and the following, and if you have that acceptance in your country, then you can sell it international, because word of mouth is important. And so we want to continue to evolve the music and food festival, and we want to ensure that we can compete with all the other international music festivals that are held around the world. We want it to be high level. This year, from what I see, there are some good aspects of it that will create a wow effect. From the minute you walk into the compound, we want to give you that immersive experience into tourism, into Belize, creating this tunnel-like atmosphere where you can see the rainforest, the reef, and all sorts of stuff. So there's some exciting things coming, and I think that the diversity of the people who are going to be performing locally and international will make a big difference.
I think what is equally interesting are the preliminary events that you guys are having leading up to the International
before,
Music Festival.
So we want to get the entire country involved. And so if you have artists from all over the country having a fair chance of getting up there, then there will be some excitement locally, because your boy, your girl, fine, will be performing at the music festival.
At the final one. What I also really appreciated in last year's music festival was that you were very transparent about the budget that was involved to have this event that was one of its kind. This time around, knowing that it's bigger and we're expecting a lot more, are you able to share what that budget looks like?
I believe it's going to be somewhere around 1.1 million.
Oh, wow.
No, I'll put this into perspective. I was in New York last week for Caribbean Tourism Week. That's held by the Caribbean Tourism Organization. And there's a ministerial council that meet once a quarter to discuss issues in the Caribbean. This one was huge on sargassum, and we want to take a regional approach to addressing some of the issues that we are confronted with regards to sargassum. But I sat during lunch, I sat with the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism for St. Lucia, and I said, Minister, I said, how much money on to spend for jazz festival this year? And say, well, we're just really coming back, but we spent, I'll put it in Belize dollars, about 13 million. That's just from the government side, 13 million Belize dollars to have a 8 or 10 day event. So I just want, these things aren't cheap,
some context.
but he said the economic impact and the arrivals for tourism for them is crucial. And I said, well, I spent probably about 500,000 US, and I was dragged over the coals by the media and other quarters in Belize. And he said, I said, I'm crazy. No, I know they call him crazy, or I know they call anybody crazy. I'm just giving you his perspective from an island that has been doing it for many, many years. Why do you think there are more music festivals and carnivals and stuff all over the world? I think basic things like the Lobster Fest can go international. the Mango Fest that was done in Hopkins, the Cacao Fest that I was a part of just recently. All of these things, the Ruta Maya, even cross country, I believe we can internationalize it. And all of those things help to build the name out there of Belize and help to build our brand. That's why we invested, there was a question posed to me the other day, why you guys invest in so many things outside of the normal. I believe in a guerrilla marketing strategy. So with smaller budgets, you have to be creative. So when we invested in the robotics team to go to Europe to participate in that and a one goal, what do you think? Or this?
It's a good look for the country, and of course,
right.
It's a draw for tourism.
Or all our young athletes who just came back with gold and other medals from the games. Whenever you hear Belize out there, still a lot of people don't know where we are, what we're about, and what we have to offer. I went to Atlanta for a Diaspora trip the other day, and I don't usually have protocol, but the lady coordinating had protocol walk us through, and all the immigration and custom officers were asking, I hear about Belize, I want to go. How far is it? About 7 hours, 8 hours flight, 2 hours and 20 minutes we just took with a good tailwind, right? And so we have to use every opportunity in a positive way, not the mess that cruise has created for us, to ensure that we continue to build our name out there in a good way.
You know, I want to know as well what it's like getting these international artists to be a part of the music festival here that we're preparing for. I saw some very popular names as headliners, and one of them is actually Rotimi, which is known internationally. He's an actor as well. What was his reaction to performing here in Belize or visiting Belize?
Well, they're always excited to come to a new destination, especially for an event like this. And so they're professionals. It's about business for them. And we treat it the same way. You come do your thing as the best as you can, and hopefully you will help to spread the name Belize. Wow, I went there, they took me to Alton Harris and Antonich or Blue Hole or somewhere, right? And they'll spread it. They have a following, especially a lot of them are influencers, and in this day and age that is important. But
you know, another area that I was also impressed in under your ministry is how you were able to have influencers come to Belize to just market their time here. Can you talk about how you were able to establish that as a marketing tool?
Well, that's the trend in the world today. People from all walks of life have influence on what people want to do and perceive life to be. And so influencers play a role. But for us, there are a lot of other initiatives that we do that are as impactful as having influencers. You have to pick the right influencer, and the trends are showing that what they call them micro-influencers now are the ones that are more efficient and more effective in spreading. So maybe some of the big names, while people out there may make noise, they're not as effective as some of the micro-influencers in having impact on a person's decision to do whatever, buy something at Walmart or coming to Belize for a vacation or for business.
I want to go in a slightly different direction. Last week we announced that JetBlue will begin servicing Belize in the months ahead. Perhaps you may want to discuss that a bit in terms of what it takes to get all of these carriers to start flying to Belize. I know it's perhaps one of those jobs where you're constantly out there discussing with the airlines and see what works and what can't work in terms of traffic to Belize.
Well, from day one, we've said, and we understand that airlift into a leisure destination like Belize is the lifeblood of the industry. That coupled and in parallel with the development of hotels, and so quality hotel rooms. And so we have spent a lot of hours traveling the globe, sitting in offices, going to the conferences where airline decision makers are participating in those conferences at a high level, panels and all sorts of stuff. So putting Belize's name out there and talking to them in their offices, I think, is the most effective way. You have that one-on-one. At the conferences, they call it, it's like speed dating. You have 5 minutes, move, 5 minutes, move, 5 minutes, move. And so we have an airline development committee that is spearheaded by Anthony Hunt and our airline advisory group out of New York. And so we have created a strategy on where we want to go and where we want to get to. Where we want to go and how we'll get there. And like I said, we've spent a tremendous amount of time talking to the decision makers and coming to Belize. We had to do so from scratch pretty much because most of the legacy carriers were not coming back as yet, and so we had to talk to them. We had to talk to Southwest, we had to talk to WestJet, we had to talk to Air Canada, we had to talk to a lot of them, American in their offices. And now we are putting a serious strategy on the table for us to be able to get that first European carrier. JetBlue is going to be an important partner for us as we move. You are talking about 3 times a week, starting December 6th, I believe, and it is going to be year-round. And so that is good news for us. A lot of the partners that we have right now only come during the high season. So this year-round capacity that we're adding right now for the country is going to be great. New York is an important market for us, and so we're doing a lot of work in there.
And with having more airlines partnering with us, we're also seeing the expanding of our airport. Let's talk about that investment that we're making.
It's about time, don't you think?
Definitely, but let's talk about
all these airlines coming to a fairly small airport.
Well, not only on a small airport, but during a small window, and that is the problem, right?
I mean, I'm looking forward to hopefully having a tube for once. You know, walking through the tube to the plane.
I hope they have that.
But yeah,
we have a lot of rain during a certain period of time, and it's difficult to get off those airplanes when it's raining a lot. When you have this brutal heat that we're experiencing right now, it's difficult to be outside if you come from North America where you're used to AC all the time. And so we want, for us, like the borders and like other areas of Belize, that is the first experience that, first and last experience that a tourist or a business person would get when they come to the country. And so we want it to be as optimal as possible, as high level as possible. And so BACT has agreed to invest close to $250 million in modernizing and uplifting the airport. I'm excited about that project. That's one of them that I have advocated for from day one. I've called them out. And they've been good partners in terms of listening and having an open and sober discussion. I have met with the board, I think, on 2 occasions, and I'll do so again soon with Minister Andrew Pierce. So we go as a team to talk to them.
Have you guys established when the project will be going? Has it already begun?
If you go there, you'll see some works starting with a new road that is being built.
I saw that, yes.
The problem is that the airport has limited lands for it to expand. And so we had to go through an entire negotiation process with BL to buy that land, for BACT to buy that land, or government to buy the land, I should say, not BACT, to buy the land adjacent to it.
To expand, So how long do you think it
will take? Airport developments take time. If you go to any major airport and they're having a project, you're always building, right? Because more and more people travel. But like when I went to Dubai and I spoke to those people over there, with a strategy, they built a very efficient, modern airport, and now they're rivaling Heathrow and LaGuardia and all those big airports with I think they get about 90 million people passing through that airport. So it does play a crucial role in, like I said, the advancement of tourism overall.
I want to circle back to our initial conversation where we were discussing cruise tourism. So you have a scenario where you have three major competitors that are going head to head for the Belize District Harbor. You have Stake Bank, you have Port Magical, and to an extent you still have Port of Belize, Waterloo in the
mix.
whole mix. Yes. But it would seem as if though Stake Bank is at somewhat of a standstill. A lot of work has been put into developing the island, but it would seem as if though there's still a ways to go before it actually materializes. And there still is no word on whether or not a causeway will be granted for them to build that direct connection from island to mainland. Talk to us a bit about that.
Well, like I said, we really need Stake Bank to be completed for us to be able to compete in the short to medium term. With or without the causeway, some docking facility here in the Belize district will play a crucial role in growing the numbers in a sustainable way. And like I keep saying that it has to be in a sustainable way. And so you have to really ask the developers and the financing organization, or the primary financing organization for Stake Bank, what is happening. The developers have said they are open 2021, 2022, 2023. I don't see it, but I hope they can prove me wrong. We have done everything possible as a government to ensure that Stake Bank can open for business. It is important, like I said, in the short to medium term, and even in the long term as we develop tourism here in Belize.
The challenge, however, is the fact that many of the large carriers are no longer interested in tendering. And in a scenario where you don't have a causeway to effectively transport people from the quay to Belize City proper, then in effect you're still having to ferry people by tender.
But when I say that, they say I am speaking on behalf of another developer. So anything I say, they want to throw dirt or, when I say throw shade, but I look at it soberly as the Minister of Tourism again. So if the lines are saying that they don't want to tender, the causeway is important. You need to find financing for that component of the project that I believe would cost somewhere around $125 million. You're already here at I think about 150 by the time you're finished or more. So you have to find another 125 to 100. Imagine you have all the financing and you start and you have this piece of bridge in the middle of the sea and it's incomplete. That is my problem with that component. As long as they could show me the full financing is available for them to complete it, then again, is that the best situation, building a bridge through into Belize City? But it's done all over the world, Panama, Florida.
Florida Keys.
Yeah, Florida Keys, you have the causeways, and it's beautiful, no? And then you have Port of Magical that I truly, and I've said this to the principals, I truly didn't take it seriously, but they have gotten to a point that now I'm taking it seriously.
What would have been your reason for not taking it seriously?
Well, I think the project was too big.
Too ambitious in its scale.
Yes, in scale, because 250 million is only for the cruise component. You have a hotel development in the property as well, on the property. And so I just thought it was too big. But just maybe 3 weeks ago, NASA inaugurated a $300 and maybe $350 million port there as well. Now, Belize is a little bit different from the Bahamas because of its proximity to the U.S. You can have 3-day itineraries and that type of thing. We're a long itinerary, and so we're a little bit different. But I've spoken to Boscalis, I've spoken to Royal Caribbean, and they're dead serious about completing this project. And so we have to listen. I think cruise provides an opportunity for small operators and small vendors to be able to earn a decent living, because you have the numbers coming in. Just like all the sites and attractions, you need the cruise traffic to sustain them over time, because that helps, no, in terms of the entrance fees and all the other things that you can generate off it.
What would your thoughts have been on the Port of Belize expansion project, that it would have included a cruise terminal? Because then we're looking at job creation for a part of Belize City that is perhaps economically depressed. It gives people an opportunity to work, earn money, and improve the social standards of that community.
Well, I think part of their problem is crossing and overcoming the environmental hurdle. And like I've said, you have smart enough business people for those three developments that can make the right decision. So right now it's a game between, I believe, Waterloo and Portico for who is going to be next. You have Stake Bank there already, maybe half or 3/4 ways, and so they're out the gate already. So if they start from now, they will have, in like I said, in the short term, medium term, they're ahead of the game. But if you look at the other two ports, which one is going to be built first, right? And so it is important for the principals of Waterloo to ensure that the Portico development is stalled and slowed, and it has chaos around it, because international investors don't like chaos. They like stability, they like soberness, they like something to be organized. And right now the environment in Belize is chaotic and wild.
Has this issue divided cabinet, in your opinion?
No, absolutely not. I mean, what do you expect the opposition to say? There are cracks in the British government, there's mutiny. There was a sober discussion. I have taken papers to cabinet that they say, okay, hold up, we can't do this, go and come again. And that has happened in so many instances whereby we ventilate armor. If you watch the number of papers that we have brought to cabinet compared to the previous administration, tremendous amount of discussion. I dread reading the cabinet papers tonight and tomorrow, because when I look through my email, I just say
long list.
A long list, no?
I wanna touch on something that you mentioned, which was the economic situation and the ways that tourism has been helping small business persons. I believe the government has established a task force that would deal with the cost of living, to which you are a part of. Could you talk about your involvement in that task force and how you intend to work to help us?
Well, my colleagues will tell you that I have been a huge advocate for us to deal with this issue for a long time. I used to take, in front of all our positions in cabinet, there's a mic, right? So that you can speak. And I used to, every cabinet, I used to take Lala milk, 1, 2, 3 aisle, ramen. And I said, if you don't continue to mess with me, I will bring my plywood or a piece of zinc in there, just for show how much, and it's a serious thing. That is the number one issue, I think, affecting the quality of life here in Belize at the moment. It's the cost of living. I mean, I've spoken to nurses, teachers, people who are working hard and grinding day in and day out, and they're struggling to make ends meet. Now, a lot of the inflation we are importing into the country. I think we import maybe $2 billion worth of goods, and we export 500 million. So you have a discrepancy of $1.5 billion, and I just want people to think about those numbers. We don't have to import so much. We can, I believe, produce 80% of what, close to 80% of what we can consume in this country.
What makes it worse, though, is the fact that you have merchants and businesses that are seemingly hell-bent on price gouging. I know that there was also a task force that was put together to look at ways that they could address this issue. Where are we with that? I mean, from a government perspective, has that proven effective?
Well, it's going to be take some time for the wheels to turn and for it to be effective. But from what I've heard, they've already caught a retailer, and I guess they're going to make that entity there an example.
My final question, Minister, and this is from a political or constituency point of view here. The project on Mahogany Street, I know you've been chiefly behind getting all of those stalls built and what have you. Where are we with that project?
We're about, I'd say about 50 or 60% complete. We want to complete the entire Mahogany Street. It has taken some time dealing with BL. It has taken some time putting in water, access for those people. We had about 29 booths out there, and only 2 of them had running water, and many of them are selling food. I think that is important. You have clean running water when you're selling food. And so it's a total upliftment of the area, similarly to Berger Field, that has transformed that area already. And that's what Plan Belize is all about, transforming Belize. Now, I really don't want people to forget that the first year and a half, 2 of the PUP, John Briceño administration, we were under COVID. The last administration only spent like 8 months, 9 months during COVID. And so for us, when I got in as Minister of Tourism and Diaspora Relations, there was little or no tourism at all. So we had to lay the foundation. We had to build it step by step to get back to where we are today. And it has taken some time, a lot of effort by the private sector and the public sector working in tandem to ensure that this very important industry is rebuilt in the right way. You see, the previous administration, I don't think, had any clue of what it takes to build a tourism industry. Yes, you had organic growth, but that's happening all over the world. But we still have destinations without proper water supply. We still have destinations without proper electricity supply. We still have destinations without proper sewer system. You still have destinations without proper health care facilities. So how can you have 350,000 people going on San Pedro and you don't have a quality hospital? That, people, when they travel, they still want peace of mind, right? You don't have proper garbage trucks to pick up the garbage in some of these destinations. You don't have proper security. You don't have proper, so a lot of the fundamentals have been flawed. We have a great number of assets and the diversity of our people that we can monetize and that we can compete significantly and on a real scale internationally. But there are so many things that we have to improve to ensure that we get where we get to. And we still have many roads to sites and attractions that are incomplete. Now, if you go to Hopkins, as we got in, we paved most of the road, the main road in Hopkins. That has transformed that village, and we're going to do the final, I think, 3/4 mile, and that should be starting within the next week or so. Work closer with the Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing to get these projects done at the highest level, because they have the experience in that.
And that's how we were able to see Hopkins Fest, Hopkins Mango Fest as well, you know, with the streets.
And again, so I don't forget, we still don't have enough of the labor pool. Because the BPO sector is growing so fast, a lot of people are moving there, because during the slow season, many of the properties and tourism investments would say, I want to close down for October, but those people still have their mortgages to pay, they have bills to pay, so they're moving to other sectors. We see that as a crucial issue And so by October, we should be inaugurating our first tourism academy in partnership with the Florida International University for us to be able to train frontline people, to be able to train managers to be in these operations and be driving force behind many of these investments in the country. So I'm truly excited about that, and I can't wait for that to open.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Minister Mahler, for sharing the updates of the tourism industry with us and the viewers. We appreciate the information, and we look forward to seeing what next comes under your administration and your work. All right. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by representatives of the City Council to talk to us about property tax. Don't go away.